I'm reminded, dear one, that those tragic words said from the cross in the story. My God, why have you forsaken me? The terrible emptiness of not having God when you've known Him. Calls you back to rescue them. Dear one, you're Jesus, the hero of the story. Yes, okay, he's quoting from a song, but, well, he could be. It certainly looks like it. It's the way it's written in there. So, but does that make things any the less intense? I think it's part of the humanity. He's facing leaving what he's got semi-used to, living here. We suppose that he knows heaven in the story. So, what is it? Perhaps not. Perhaps this is the whole point. He's come here to... He's a representation of us. The ideal, but the ideal is still us. In a situation of not knowing God and knowing the experience of such. If we take it that the story is meant to be a real person, human, physical being as well, then he suffers as we suffer. Situation, ostensibly externally disaster, in a situation of not knowing, not certainty. An alternative is that he does know God and he's puzzled as presented. Why have you forsaken me? I mean, of course, more than puzzled, genuinely, extremely distressed. You see, it's no good in the story if he has all the powers of God and the understanding and knowledge of God, because then he's not our example. You know, the argument then is, well, yes, he's coping with it, but how do we cope with it? And the whole point of the story, I think, is that we have an example of how best to cope with being here in the ignorance of not knowing God. So perhaps he does experience that in the story. You may say, but that's not consistent with, his earlier pronouncements on so clearly knowing that God is always, all powerful and all loving, and to him and to all. Stories aren't consistent, dear one. When you look at them, they're not consistent. Lives are not consistent. I mean, real lives. We behave erratically, we see things differently, our emotions are contrasting amazingly at times, up one minute, down another. Cope with massive things, can't cope with tiny things in other circumstances. We may like consistency and feel happy with it, but it's not our continual experience in living. So we have him quite literally struggling at this point, just as, being at the well and he's thirsty. The heat of the day and he's tired. Or just as, we don't imagine him ever losing his temper, and there he is in the temple, violent. Or, we hold that he's turning the other cheek and not being violent even, in manner, and yet he's dressing down scribes and Pharisees at other times. Living is not a consistency, thank goodness, because we need the inconsistency of the change from the chaos to good. And in a sense, we start with the chaos, in that when we come into the world, we don't have perfect knowledge, and therefore there's massive uncertainty. And that is near chaos. Survival is that there is some measure of consistency, or we don't get through. Well, of course, a more general explanation is, as with the near-death experience people that report at times, that we chose to come here. We chose, therefore, a situation of ignorance. We chose to experience a certain life and set of experiences that would achieve something that was pressing on us. It's by our consent, in which case it's by Jesus' consent in a time when he is not remembering the consent being given, where he commits himself to going through such an experience, because he sees that as necessary, in some sense, for his eternal well-being, his peace of mind in heaven. So he comes to earth. In other words, yet again, his experience on earth, as with arguably all of us, is because God loves us. He gives us the experience that we feel we need. So it is with Jesus. In the story, perhaps. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.